You know my life, man. It's like a scratched record, always skipping back to the same shitty, worn-out groove. Day in, day out. Wake up, stare at the water stains on the ceiling that look vaguely like a screaming face, chug coffee that tastes like battery acid, go to work, come home, rinse and repeat. This apartment is a perfect metaphor for it all. The floorboards don't just creak, they fucking moan like old men dying in their sleep. Every time I turn on the kitchen faucet, the pipes shudder and clang a death rattle through the walls. My landlord calls it vintage character. I call it a tetanus trap waiting to happen. The lights flicker so often, I've basically accepted I'm living in a perpetual state of pre-seizure. It's my life, a monument to failed independence, classic edition. And honestly, I'm fine with it. It's better than the alternative. You accept the truth, it gets easier to breathe. And my truth is simple. I was a problem child. Mark, my stepdad, couldn't stand my brand of not normal. My mom, Sarah, well, she's a good person, just doesn't have much of a spine. So when I turned 18, it was the logical conclusion. They booted me out. An exorcism, you could call it. Get rid of the problem and the house is clean again. I get it, I really do. It all circled back to that stupid name I came up with as a kid, Mr. Giggles. Fucking hell, even saying it now makes me cringe. The name a lonely kid gives to the empty space in the corner of his room. The memory is worn smooth, like a stone in my pocket. I'm in my room. I'm talking to him, to the empty air. The door flies open, and there's Mark, face all purple and bloated with rage, veins popping in his neck. His voice booms, rattles the cheap plastic toys on my shelf. "Shut up! Stop talking to IT!" And behind him, in the doorway, my mom, just standing there, hands over her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Not angry tears, just broken ones. To me, IT was always clear. My imagination. My fucked up brain wiring that made me talk to things that weren't there. The thing Mark couldn't stand. The thing that proved I was broken. It's a shitty memory, but it's mine. It's the foundation of everything. That's why I don't freak out about this apartment. The flickering lights in the bathroom, just some rat chewing on a wire, probably. That son of a bitch landlord is too cheap to call a real exterminator. I swear I left my keys on the kitchen counter last night, but this morning they were in the goddamn freezer. Must have been more drunk than I thought. My brain's gotta be half pickled by now. Sometimes it feels like I'm being watched. You ever get that? It's usually when I'm trying to sleep. That dark corner of my room, the one where the closet door hangs slightly ajar. I can feel eyes on me, greedy eyes. But that's just stress, lack of sleep, too much caffeine. I just need a day off, you know? Or maybe switch to decaf. Yeah, that's it, stress. But there's one thing that's harder to explain away. It started a few months ago. A sound. It's small, barely there. A dry little click, like someone tapping a long fingernail against a wooden table. Once, twice. It only happens when I'm alone. Usually late at night, when the building is quiet and all I can hear is the hum of the old refrigerator and the traffic far below. Click. Click. At first, I thought it was the pipes cooling down, or the old building settling. It's a shithole, of course it makes noises. But this sound, it's too precise, too clean. It has a rhythm to it that feels intentional. I try to ignore it. I turn the TV up louder, put headphones on, but sometimes, in the silence between songs, I hear it. Click. Right by the window. Click. Click. From the corner by the closet. Tonight, it's bad. I'm exhausted. Work was hell. My hands are still shaky from the 4 cups of coffee I needed just to stay upright. I'm sitting on my lumpy couch, staring at the blank TV screen, too tired to even find the remote. The only light comes from the street lamp outside, casting long, distorted shadows across the room. The shadow of the coat rack looks like a tall, stooped man. Funny. And then I hear it. Click. It's closer this time. It sounds like it's coming from the other side of the coffee table. I freeze. My heart does this stupid little stutter step thing in my chest. I stare into the gloom of the living room, trying to see anything out of place. Nothing. Just the same crappy furniture, the same pile of junk mail on the floor. It's nothing. My mind is playing tricks on me, that's all. It's what my mind does. I tell myself that, over and over. I even say it out loud, a harsh whisper that sounds pathetic in the quiet room. It's nothing. Click, click, click. It's faster now, more insistent, like whatever's making it is getting impatient. It's coming from the short hallway that leads to my bedroom. I can't see down it from here. It's just a patch of absolute black. My skin is crawling. Goosebumps erupt all over my arms. I feel cold, even though the room is stuffy. My body is reacting before my brain can even process it, screaming danger, while my mind is still trying to tell it to shut the hell up. Probably just the evolved termites, I mutter, trying for a joke. They learned Morse code or some shit. The sound stops. Silence rushes back in, thick and heavy. I sit there, perfectly still, listening. My own breathing is loud. The thumping in my ears is louder. A minute passes. Then 2. Nothing. See? Just the building. Just my fucked up head. I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding, my shoulders slumping in relief. I need a drink. Slowly, I push myself up from the couch. The floorboards groan under my weight. I take a step towards the kitchen. And from the darkness of the hallway, right behind me, a single, sharp, clear sound. Click. I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. It felt like if I so much as blinked, the air in the room would shatter. The sound had come from right over my shoulder, right there, so close I should have felt breath on my neck. My blood went cold, not in a metaphorical, oh, this is spooky way. I mean, it literally felt like ice water was being pumped through my veins, my skin tightening, every hair on my arm standing straight up. My body was screaming, turn around, but my brain, my stupid, stubborn brain, was screaming back, don't you fucking dare. A second passed, another. The silence was louder than the click had been. Finally, with a surge of adrenaline that felt like a jolt from a car battery, I spun around. Nothing. The hallway was a black maw, just like before. The coat rack still looked like a crooked old man in the dim light. The pile of mail was unmoved. I took a clumsy, stumbling step forward, my hand slapping against the wall, searching for the light switch. I found it, flipped it. The weak yellow bulb flickered on, casting sickly light down the short hall. Empty. Of course it was empty. What the hell did I expect to see? Fucking rats, I said out loud, my voice sounding thin and shaky. Big ones. The explanation was bullshit, and I knew it. But you gotta tell yourself something, right? You build a wall of flimsy excuses between you and the thing you don't want to see. I spent the next 10 minutes checking the locks on the door and the window for the 3rd time that night, all secure. Sleep didn't come easy. It never does, but this was different. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening. Every creak of the building, every siren in the distance, made my heart hammer against my ribs. This place, it's always been a shithole, but lately, it feels different. The fucking walls feel like they're backing away from me at night, making the shadows longer, making the room bigger. It's a stupid thought, but I can't shake it. The emptiness feels active. At some point, I must have drifted off, because the next thing I knew, my alarm was blaring. I slammed my hand down on it, groaning. My head felt thick, like it was stuffed with wet cotton. I sat up, my feet hitting the floor, and froze. My shoes. My worn-out work boots. I always leave them by the door. Always. It's a habit, one of the few pieces of order in my chaotic life. But now they were here, on the floor next to my bed, placed perfectly parallel to each other, and they were pointing right at me. I stared at them. My brain tried to scramble for a reason. Maybe I was drunker than I thought last night. Maybe I kicked them over here in my sleep. But they weren't kicked. They were placed, neatly, deliberately, as if someone had taken them off and set them there after standing and watching me for a while. No, I whispered, no fucking way. I got up, snatched the shoes, and practically threw them back by the front door. I needed coffee. I needed to get out of here. My routine is my anchor. It's the one thing that makes sense. Get coffee, stare at the wall, go to work, come home. Repeat. Don't think about it. But now the routine was being invaded. Little things, glitches in the matrix. A few days later, I was watching TV, or trying to. The screen was off, but I was staring at my own reflection in the black glass. Tired eyes, bad haircut, the usual. Then, in the reflection, something moved behind me. A flicker of motion in the periphery. I saw it clear as day. Something tall, something thin, a shadow that detached from the other shadows. I whipped my head around so fast my neck cracked. The room was empty. The sun was setting, casting long orange stripes through the dirty window, but there was nothing there. Just my couch, my coffee table, the coat rack. My eyes are just shot. Too much caffeine, not enough sleep. That's all. That's all it is. It has to be. The one thing I have from my childhood, my real childhood, is a picture. It's a faded Polaroid of me, maybe 6 or 7 years old, sitting on a swing set. I'm smiling, a real gap-tooth smile. It was taken before Mark, before everything went to shit. It's the only proof I have that I was ever a happy kid. I keep it on the little end table next to my couch. The next morning, I came out of the bedroom and saw it was face down. I frowned. Maybe I knocked it over last night. I picked it up, brushed it off, and set it upright. The day after that, it was face down again. And the day after that. Every morning, like clockwork, I would set it right, and the next day, it would be turned over, hiding my smiling face from the room. It was a small thing, so small, but it was getting under my skin. It felt personal, like a petty, silent punishment. I thought about putting it away, hiding it in a drawer, but that felt like letting it win, whatever it was. I almost called my mom that week. I actually had the phone in my hand, her number on the screen. What would I even say? Hey, Mom, remember how you guys kicked me out for being crazy? Well, you were right. I'm seeing shit. The furniture is moving on its own. How's Mark? I imagined her crying on the other end of the line, broken tears, just like in the memory. I deleted the number from my recent calls. Fuck that. I'm on my own. I always have been. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I got home from work, exhausted, shoulders aching. I dropped my keys on the kitchen counter and went to grab a beer from the fridge. I stopped. On the dead center of my small, scratched-up kitchen table was a beetle, a large black one. It was dead, its legs curled up towards its body. It was just sitting there. There was no trail, no dirt. The windows were closed. How the hell did it get there? And why just one, so perfectly placed? Is this a fucking joke? I yelled at the empty apartment. Did the landlord send his pet bug to tell me the rent's due? I swept it into the trash with a paper towel, my hand shaking slightly. I chugged the beer, then another. It didn't help. I couldn't shake the image of that beetle, sitting there like a goddamn centerpiece. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen, my heart already pounding. I looked at the table. There were 2 of them, side by side, perfectly spaced. 2 dead black beetles. I didn't say anything this time. I just stood there, staring. My mind was a blank wall of static. The flimsy excuses, the rationalizations, they were all gone. Rats don't do this. Sleepwalking doesn't explain this. This was real. This was happening. I got rid of them, went to work, said nothing, did my job like a robot, came home. I knew what I was going to find. I think a part of me knew it the second I put my key in the lock. I pushed the door open slowly. I didn't turn on the light. I just walked to the kitchen and looked. There they were, 4 of them. 4 dead beetles placed on the table. They weren't in a line this time. They were arranged in a perfect square. I just stood there in the dark, looking at them. The logic I'd clung to for years, the simple truth that I was the problem, that my brain was broken, it just crumbled into dust. This wasn't my brain. This wasn't a memory. This was here. This was now. And it wasn't random. It wasn't chaotic. It had a pattern. It was learning. That was the worst part. It was learning. I didn't throw them away this time. I couldn't. I just stood there in the doorway, my bag still on my shoulder, looking at the perfect square of dead beetles on my kitchen table. My keys felt heavy in my hand. The whole world felt heavy. That flimsy wall of excuses I'd been building for years, it was gone. Not just cracked, but pulverized into dust. This wasn't me being crazy. This wasn't bad wiring in my brain. Something was in here with me, and it was trying to tell me something. 4. 1 beetle, then 2, then 4. It was counting, or doubling, a sequence, a fucking math problem left by a ghost. My heart wasn't pounding. It was doing something worse. It was beating slow and hard, each thump a heavy, final drumbeat in my chest. This is it, the end of the line. I didn't move for maybe a full minute. I just stared. Then I walked past the table, didn't even look at it, went to my bedroom and shut the door. I didn't lock it. What was the point? I didn't turn on the light. I sat on the edge of my bed in the dark, my work clothes still on, and I waited. For what? I didn't know. For the next move. For the next lesson. The hours crawled by. The sun went down. The room sank into a thick, syrupy blackness. The usual city sounds, sirens, the rumble of a truck, seemed a million miles away. All that existed was this room, this waiting. My body was rigid, a coiled spring of tension. I thought for a second about Mark, about his red, screaming face. Maybe you were right, you son of a bitch. Maybe I finally fucking lost it for good. Then I heard it. Click. It wasn't in the kitchen. It wasn't in the hall. It was right next to my head. So close I felt the air shift. My breath hitched in my throat. I couldn't swallow. Every muscle in my body locked up tight. My blood turned to slush. Don't look. Don't fucking look. If you don't see it, it's not there. A kid's logic, but it was all I had left. I squeezed my eyes shut. My fists were clenched so hard, my fingernails were cutting into my palms. Then I felt a pull, not on my clothes, on the room itself. I could feel the darkness in the far corner of the bedroom, deepening, stretching. I didn't need to see it, I could feel it. A patch of night that was blacker than the rest. It was gathering itself. Slowly, I opened my eyes. The shadow in the corner wasn't just a shadow anymore. It was pulling away from the wall. A long, impossibly thin shape, detaching itself from the intersection of the 2 walls. It was tall, so tall it had to bend under the ceiling. And then, from the middle of its long, stick-like torso, another line of black began to unfurl. An arm. It stretched out, thin as a spider's leg, fingers like black icicles, reaching for me across the room. The primal, animal part of my brain took over. All thought, all reason just vanished, replaced by pure, white-hot terror. A scream tore itself from my lungs, a sound I didn't recognize. The words weren't mine. They were his. They were Mark's. "Shut up! Don't get near me!" The arm stopped. It fucking stopped. It hung there in the air, a frozen black line in the dark. For a second, 2, 3, then it retracted, slowly. It folded back into the main shadow, which then seemed to flatten, to dissolve back into the corner, until it was just a corner again. The room was just a room. But the silence, the silence was worse. It wasn't empty, it was listening. It was the silence of a predator that has decided to wait. It had obeyed me, and that was the most terrifying thing of all. I don't know when I fell asleep. I don't think I did. I think I just shut down, my brain rebooting itself over and over until the first gray hint of dawn seeped through the dirty window. I didn't think, I just moved. I stood up, my joints screaming in protest, walked out of the bedroom, past the kitchen table. I didn't look, I couldn't look. Grabbed my keys from the floor by the door where I'd dropped them, and left. I didn't lock it. I just pulled it shut behind me and ran. I walked for hours. I didn't have a destination. I just put one foot in front of the other, letting the anonymous city crowds swallow me up. The noise of traffic, the chatter of people, it was a shield. As long as I was out here, surrounded by life, it couldn't be real. That room, those beetles, that arm, it was a bad dream. My feet carried me, on autopilot, into a small, brightly lit grocery store. The kind of old place with scuffed linoleum floors and fluorescent lights that hummed. I just needed to be somewhere normal. I walked down an aisle, my eyes scanning the shelves without seeing anything. Cereal boxes. Cans of soup. Bags of chips. It was all meaningless. Then my eyes landed on a small bag of lemon drops. Hard, yellow candies in a clear cellophane wrapper. For some reason, I picked them up. I don't know why. It was just an impulse. I took them to the counter, paid the guy, and walked back out onto the street. "Alex? My goodness, is that you?" The voice cut through my haze. I stopped. An older woman was standing there, holding a small basket of groceries. Wrinkled face, kind eyes, gray hair pulled back in a loose bun. It took my brain a second to place her. "Mrs. Gable?" "Oh, Lord, it is you," she beamed, her face crinkling into 1,000 happy lines. "Look at you, a grown man. I'd recognize you anywhere." Her eyes darted to the bag in my hand. "Still have a sweet tooth for those lemon drops, huh, honey?" A memory, faint and warm, surfaced through the sludge of my panic. Mrs. Gable, our old neighbor. She used to give me these exact candies when I was a kid, sneaking them to me over the backyard fence. We made small talk, the usual stuff. How have you been? What are you doing now? It was surreal, standing on a sunny sidewalk, talking about the weather, while the monster from my bedroom was still clinging to the inside of my skull. "I'm sorry about what happened back then," she said, her smile fading a little. "With your folks, it was a hard time for everyone." A bitter laugh escaped my lips before I could stop it. "Yeah, well, I was a weird kid." I said it as a joke, a dark one, but a joke. A way to explain it all away in a neat little package. Guess they got tired of the weird kid with the imaginary friend? Mrs. Gable frowned. Not with pity, with confusion. She tilted her head, her brow furrowed. "Imaginary friend?" she said, her voice calm, matter of fact. "Oh no, honey, we all saw him." I stared at her. The sounds of the street, a car horn, people talking, faded to a dull roar. The only thing I could hear was the blood pounding in my ears. "What?" I managed to choke out. "The tall man," she said, as if she were talking about an uncle I'd forgotten. "The skinny one that was always with you, always just standing behind you. Your parents were scared to death. I always figured he was some relative you weren't supposed to be around, the way they acted. The bag of lemon drops slipped from my fingers, scattering hard yellow candies across the dirty sidewalk. The world stopped spinning. It just shattered. Every piece of my life, every memory, flew apart and reassembled itself in a new, hideous shape. Mark, screaming in the hallway. He wasn't yelling at my imagination. He was yelling at something he could see. My mother, standing in the doorway, sobbing. They weren't tears of frustration at her problem son. They were tears of pure, undiluted fear. They didn't kick me out because I was crazy. They kicked me out to get away from the thing that came with me. My entire life, my entire identity, was built on a lie I had told myself to survive. And the truth was 1,000 times worse. If Mr. Giggles wasn't imaginary, then what the hell is he? And, holy shit, is he still here?